Not impressed.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is February 3rd, 2021. This is episode 295. And today, Insane Quantum Brain. That's right. And I am going to need to circle back with you on that, but my name is Basil.
And this is Gonz. Welcome to the podcast where we praise Jesus while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. And Basil, your connection is not great right now, but it won't matter for those listening later in the RSS feed.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you're a little fuzzy, both audibly and visually.
Oh, geez.
We know you're there.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
And a good opportunity to remind people, if you have not subscribed to the podcast version of the show, you should do that, because same day as the live broadcast, we always put out the podcast version, much, much higher audio quality, and it'll make it so you never miss a show.
Yeah, and you should also
like, subscribe, bell button, all. Like, subscribe, bell button, all.
That's right.
Wow. We ask so much of you people.
I know. Do this,
and you deliver.
Do that. Yes, and should we get right into it? Is there anything you want to talk about before we jump in?
I don't know. I just found a pack of Gushers.
Yes.
In a jacket pocket, and I ate it, and we'll see what kind of effect that has on the show.
That's really Homer Simpsons-ish. You know, you find something that's been in your pocket for a while, and then you just eat it.
Yeah, you know, you find a pack of Gushers, you're not going to not eat the pack of Gushers.
I suppose.
Okay. All right, let's jump right in for a quick Flippy update.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
That's right, and if you're new to the show, Flippy is the colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy as a proxy conversation to explore how robots and AI are taking over the world, and there's nothing we can do about it. Today, Gonz, it's more of a... it is a Flippy update, but it's a little bit more of an update on Spot. Of course, Spot, the infamous four-legged dog robot from Boston Dynamics, sort of the figurehead of Boston Dynamics, as well as the modular use autonomous robot platform. And, people are really stoked about this one, Gonz, and I don't know. We'll talk about it. This is coming from the IEEE.org. No, 3 E's. IEEE.org. Boston Dynamics Spot robot is now armed. Ooh. Boston Dynamics has been working on an arm for its Spot quadruped for at least 5 years now. There have been plenty of teasers along the way, including this 45-second clip from early 2018 of Spot using its arm to open a door, which at 85 million views seems to be Boston Dynamics' most popular video ever by a huge margin. Obviously, there's a substantial amount of interest in turning Spot from a highly dynamic but mostly passive sensor platform into a mobile manipulator that can interact with its environment. As anyone who's done mobile manipulation will tell you, what? Actually, building an arm is just the first step. The really tricky part is getting that arm to do exactly what you want it to. In particular, Spot's arm needs to be able to interact with the world with some amount of autonomy in order to be commercially useful, because you can't expect a human to spend all their time positioning individual joints or whatever to pick something up. So the real question about this arm is whether Boston Dynamics has managed to get it to a point where it's autonomous enough that users with relatively little robotics experience will be able to get it to do useful tasks without driving themselves nuts. Today, Boston Dynamics is announcing commercial availability of the Spot arm, along with some improved software called Scout Plus, a self-charging dock that'll give the robot even more independence and figure out exactly what Spot's arm can do. We spoke with Zachary Jakowski, Spot Chief Engineer at Boston Dynamics. Although Boston Dynamics' focus has been on the dynamic mobility and legged robots, the company has been working on manipulation for a very long time. Ooh. We've been working on manipulation. We first saw an ARM prototype on an early iteration of Spot in 2016, where it demonstrated some impressive functionality, including loading a dishwasher and fetching a beer in a way that only resulted in a minor catastrophe. But we're guessing that Spot's ARM can trace its history back to Big Dog's crazy powerful hydraulic face arm, which was causing mayhem with cinder blocks back in 2013. So we've got a few videos there to play for the live viewers. And Gons, people are just wild about this robot arm.
Yeah, I mean, I brought it up for the Flippy update for today, and you were very turned off by this thing. You were like, I've seen it.
Not impressed.
Not impressed at all.
As they mentioned in the article, I mean, Spot's had a Flippy arm for like 4 years now. So it's not, I don't know. I wasn't very impressed. Now, there's the new video that I will say, watching the video, it's gotten much better, much smoother, much more dynamic, Boston Dynamic, if you will. So it's an improvement on their already functioning arm. But this video has like 3 million views in 2 days or something crazy.
Yeah, it's going to just keep getting more and more popular. I thought the chalk writing Boston Dynamics on the ground was pretty impressive. The jump rope was fun, although I think we've seen that before.
We've seen the jump rope before, but, you know, it's always fun to watch robots jump rope.
Yeah, especially the one in the middle the one actually jumping, because it's 2 robot arms, each holding one end of a jump rope, and then, you know, swinging the jump rope around, and then the one in the middle doesn't have an arm.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Too floppy. He's only good for jumping. Yeah. That's Jumpy.
Less privileged.
Jumpy the robot. So why do we care so much about Spot here? Well, as we know, Boston Dynamics got sold to Hyundai just earlier. What was it? Last year, I think. Because Hyundai is trying to make a car with legs. So, you know, good for them. But, you know who owns a Spot, if you remember, Gons, is Daddy Jeff Bezos.
Daddy Bezos?
Yeah, Daddy Bezos.
Yeah.
He was kind of one of the most popular owners of a Spot, which I don't know the current retail price for Spot right now, but when they first started making them available, I think it was $75,000. And of course, Bond villain Daddy Bezos needed to have a robot dog that followed him around everywhere.
Well, clearly there was a certain threshold that was met with the Spot, technology that allowed Bezos to announce his stepping down from CEO. So he doesn't have to deal with the day-to-day. He's probably, he did have like a letter or something saying like, oh, we got more things planned for the future. It's probably like the Spot with new arms will completely replace all factory workers. Something crazy like that. But he hasn't told anybody yet.
Yep, I didn't bring the article, but in my research looking for a Flippy update, we got the numbers that automated robotics for business rose something like 60% in the fourth quarter of 2020. So, robots, they're coming for you. And with this much more nimble and impressive arm, you too can have a robot dog capable of loading the dishwasher.
Fantastic.
Yep, there you go.
Lovely. I think the reason why there were millions of views is because CNN carried the story.
Ah, of course.
Everybody watches CNN, don't you know? All right.
What is that? Minnesota? Are you calling out Minnesota for listening to CNN?
No, it wasn't Minnesotan. Was it? I don't know. We'll see.
Don't you know?
Oh, is that Minnesotan?
I think it's sort of a generally Midwest thing.
Okay.
But yeah.
I thought it was in my head it was more Canadian, but we'll get to it.
Well, yeah, same.
Same, close enough. The vicinity, and we'll get to Canada in a moment here. But first,
33 is the number of completion of the Great War.
did you have something? You were going to say something?
No, I was just going to say we'll get to Canada.
Yeah.
Don't you worry, Canada.
We'll get there.
We'll get to you.
Oh no, my article just disappeared. Here we go. This is app.com. And the headline, did New Jersey break state snow record? Oh, they actually updated the article, so it's not 33 anymore. It was 33 inches, maybe top mark, investigation underway for, the inches of rain. But
Illuminati weather.
yeah, but I guess they broke it. They forgot to turn off the spigot, so 35 inches now. All right, never mind. Forget that story. Forget that update. It was 33 yesterday. I promise.
I guess we got to talk about Canada now.
Yeah.
A pandemic special.
We had some people send us some video and some notes. This one came from a listener, producer Jonathan, Jagged777, I think he said Twitch chat. This is his pastor's wife that is talked about here. So let's play the clip.
A shocking story coming out of Edmonton today. An Edmonton man, Chris Mathis, is asking questions after his wife, Nikki, returned to Canada last night after meeting the mandatory COVID-19 testing requirements to board her Air Canada flight from the U.S. Officers and AHS officials rejected her results and told her that she needed to go immediately to an isolation facility. Now, she was told that if she resisted, she would be arrested. She was immediately put in a white van surrounded by police escorts and taken to an unknown facility that is under full surveillance and has security at every entrance and exit. Today, she remains in custody with very few answers. And Mr. Mathis joins us now on Forum Daily. Sir, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Now, Mr. Mathis, can you share more of what transpired last night? Was there any indication that your wife's test wouldn't be accepted?
No, not on our end. Apparently, when she got to the border agency, she handed them the paperwork, and it was an antigen test, which they said is not acceptable, that she needed to immediately follow the procedures, what follows that with a test that they don't accept, and that's to be escorted by the police officer to a quarantine facility. She's there today. They told her that she was going to get another test this morning, and she would have to stay there until her test was negative, but she has not been able to take a test. No one from AHS has contacted her. She's tried multiple times all morning since 7 a.m. this morning, and no one has gotten with her. No one's told her any information, and she remains there. And so, yeah, we know nothing else at this point.
That's a very troubling story.
Yeah, why exactly was this woman picked out? Like, why is she the one doing this? Did I miss something?
No, I think she just tested negative, and they supposedly she took the wrong test. As in, not Canada government compliant. Mm-hmm. And so because of that, they detained her and put her in a white van and took her to some building that's totally
weird.
Locked
So
down.
it's just like a standard situation. What, she was flying in to the country and had the wrong test, an unapproved test, and got secret policed?
Yeah. I mean, this is the kind of thing where, at the beginning of the lockdown last year, we heard all about, hey, they're going to start doing draconian measures. And people were like, you wild conspiracy theorists. No one's going to do that. And here we are, about a year later, and good old Trudeau out there, or up there, I guess, just overreach to no end.
Well, the big thing is, if this happened to this woman, she's getting some attention, but how many others is this happening to that
there are others.
Aren't making it onto the news?
Yeah, there are others. We'll get to another one in a moment here. But this pastor, Chris Mathis, does mention what he hopes to get out of this whole thing, or at least comes out of this whole thing.
My hope with all of this is that someone from AHS will see this and say, you know what, we need to do something. This is a mother that has been in a hotel or not even a hotel, I don't even know what it is, a facility for 12 hours now and can't come home. She's being guarded by officers there outside of the room and in front of the facility. And we're just hoping to get some pressure to get them to move. We're trying our best to just see the positive in this and just, hope that, again, this extreme story and situation can shift and adjust the system in some sort of way to where this doesn't happen to other citizens of Canada.
There you go. So, yeah, I mean,
gotta say, Chris Mathis, is he Canadian?
I think so. Yeah.
He looks like the quintessential Canadian.
He's got the most full beard I have ever seen in my life.
His beard looks like it's like a one big plastic piece. Like it's so thick.
I'm so jealous of his beard, but I don't know what they're feeding up there in Canada, but I'm gonna maybe get some of that for my beard. But this is pretty troubling, and they're not alone. This actually was reported on the 29th of January. So, and I tried to look up some stuff, has she been released since then? I couldn't find anything. So if there's anybody in the chat that knows if they actually, what the update is, because it's been a few days now, it would be extremely troubling if she's still in that building. And one of the things they mentioned in the interview, I didn't play the clip, but basically they don't know the names of any of the officers. They don't, because first off, I think he said the wife kind of forgot to ask or didn't ask because she was a little flustered in the situation, but they wouldn't give their names. And it's a very bizarre situation. It's almost like, what is this? Is this the gulag? The COVID gulag? What's happening here?
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty spooky. Of course, there was Trudeau coming out talking about, bringing everybody, all the Canadians that were in the Caribbean were going to be brought back and take a test. And if you pass the test, you got to quarantine in your home under surveillance. If you don't pass the test, you still got to quarantine under surveillance, just in a government facility. So I do not envy you, Canadians, but it does make me worry quite a bit because of the alignment with Justin Trudeau and Joe Biden have similar alignments. This is really troubling.
Yeah, and they're not alone here. There was another story that was published on Kelowna Capital News. I hope I'm saying that right. Kelowna Capital News calls for more transparency after returning Alberta traveler detained at airport. So again, this is happening, I think, a lot more than people think. Premier Jason Kenney is calling for more federal openness after a Red Deer man was whisked away after landing at the Calgary airport by officials who considered his prior COVID test inadequate. That's what's weird. They're getting tested, but these officials are just saying, wrong, no good.
Yeah.
That's what's bizarre.
It's wild. Yeah.
Quote, we understand the need for quarantine requirements, but ask that federal agencies be more transparent, Kenney tweeted Monday evening. The premier was reacting to complaints of returning travelers being detained in isolation while their families are left in the dark about what's happening. This scenario unfolded for a 20-year-old Red Deer man last weekend. His mother, Rebecca McDonald, posted a tearful video on Facebook and YouTube recounting the upsetting experience at Calgary Airport. McDonald said that before she could fully greet her son, Ethan, whom she hadn't seen for 2 years, she had been living in Arizona, he was loaded into a van by masked strangers who refused to disclose to the family where they were taking him and when his parents could talk to him. McDonald said she was told, quote, we are taking him for an undisclosed amount of time to an undisclosed place where he will be tested and we will decide when he's released. Come on, that sounds
that's crazy.
That is insanity.
It sounds like China.
It does. I mean, not just. It sounds like a horrible movie of the dystopian future that's now. McDonald was also told authorities didn't need consent to take Ethan into isolation. Quote, I'm freaked out that this is totally legal, she added. The family later learned the COVID test her son had done in the U.S. wasn't the correct one, and he needed to be retested. According to the Canadian government website, a molecular polymerase chain reaction is needed. Oh, so according to the Canadian government, a PCR test is required. Do they fully display or at least tell us what the cycle count or cycle threshold is, the CT number?
Yeah.
McDonald said she tried to comply with re-entry rules when booking Ethan's test, but due to, quote, human error, her son got the wrong kind of testing in Arizona. Quote, we weren't trying to be irresponsible in any manner. What we were met with was the most crazy tyrannical experience. It was almost surreal and completely unacceptable. While McDonald's son is home now, having tested negative for the virus again, she remains angry, especially after hearing this happen to other people. And yeah, there's like a video of her posting some rants about just injustice and how we.
Dude, if I was a Canadian traveler, if I was out of the country right now and they called me to come back, that would be probably the last thing I would choose to do at this point. That is insane.
Yeah, this is all the
and
people.
Even more concerning because, oh man, again, crazy conspiracy tinfoil hat people have been saying this is going to happen in the U.S. for a year.
I know.
And this, when it starts happening in Canada, it's not
pretty close.
It's a little bit too close for comfort.
Yeah.
My gosh.
This is my take on all the Canadian government people over there.
They are scum.
But there is something that you can do. This is this was published on Rebel News, confronting Trudeau's COVID quarantine agents in the Calgary airport. He kind of sits there and interviews some of the people there. I'm not going to play any of it other than this part right here.
You or your friends or family are at risk of being taken by Justin Trudeau's security contractors. Everyone is at risk when the Charter of Rights and Freedoms is trampled on in this manner. If you're coming back to Canada, we have lawyers on standby. Please reach out to us at airports@rebelnews.com. If you want to help us out with this cause, helping our fellow Canadians not be abducted by Justin Trudeau, please help us out at nocovidjails.com.
There you go. Just a little,
nocovidjails.com.
nocovidjails.com, which is rebelnews.com. And also what was the email address that they had there a second ago? It was airports@rebelnews.com. So, just some resources in case you have friends, family who are traveling there and something happens. You have at least one resource you can reach out to that has some legal, support. So, yeah, I mean, this is, again, it's not surprising on one hand, but on the other hand, it's very troubling, especially as we start to see that this whole, the narrative changing over and over again, and people waking up to the fact that this whole thing was probably constructed to operate some kind of overreach like we're seeing here.
Whether it was constructed or not, it's the response to it that's been very concerning.
Right.
And taken advantage of for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of the beast system, Guns.
Yeah. Do you want me to play? I found a clip here of Fauci. Somebody mentioned Fauci's presser this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's a significant clip or not, but it's CBS. Should we try to play it and see?
Sure.
See
I
what
have
Fauci
not heard
says?
it. I don't know what's in there.
This is Dr. Fauci and CDC Director Rochelle Walensky. Okay, let's see what they say here. It's a couple minutes. We'll see how boring or relevant it is.
And just about 20 minutes ago, a new Monmouth poll shows about 50% of Americans plan to get the vaccine when they can, but 24% say it is likely they will never get it if they can avoid it. So my question is, are there any conditions under which you would recommend requiring a vaccine to access certain places like federal property, schools, or to travel, like if we fail to reach herd immunity after a certain point, or if more variants continue to spread?
Dr. Walensky, do you want to weigh in here?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think it's important to recognize that we have vaccine hesitancy here. We have to address that vaccine hesitancy at its roots and understand why people are hesitant.
Because people die?
The more people who get this vaccine, we now have over 32 million who've received at least one dose. The more people will realize and recognize that it is being distributed and given safely, and that the side effects really are minimal to minimal, really, with very rare risk
death.
of events that can be
caught
managed.
herself.
What I would say with regard to, requiring, I think we can't sort of be in a place where we're thinking about making requirements for vaccination until we certainly have enough for the entire country to make sure that that's possible. So I would say right now it's premature to think about those requirements. Our goal right now is to vaccinate as many people as we can.
Thank you so much.
Let me see if Dr. Fauci has anything to add there. Dr. Fauci.
Oh.
No, I agree totally with what Dr. Walensky said, particularly the last part, is that when you're talking about requirements, which we do have for some vaccines, Rochelle and I both are physicians who practice medicine. We don't do it in the hospital unless we get our influenza shot every year. That's because we have plentiful vaccinations available. But it's no time to talk about that now while we still have a great demand that outstrips the supply.
All right. Okay. Well, I'm glad they said they're not ready to talk about restrictions or whatever getting into federal property and schools, but it's almost like, not yet, guys. Not yet. We got to get everyone vaccinated first. And then those who don't, they will be left out of society.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, nothing new there, but it continues.
Yeah. And I won't give away the person's name here, but we do have a listener whose daughter lost her grandmother a couple days ago. And I guess her grandmother was suffering from Alzheimer's, but they gave her the COVID. They forced her to take the COVID vaccine, and then she died 24 hours later.
Yeah.
So I think
unfortunately, that's an all too common story nowadays.
Yes, and it's troubling. And
just to remind everybody, the vaccine is for your protection and does not keep you from spreading the disease if you have it. So
apparently, yeah.
That's what they say. That is what the current science shows.
Okay. All right. Well, in the meantime, while they're locking everyone down and jabbing everybody.
Speaking of the beast system, beast system.
I'm your brain.
That's right. Coming from technologynetworks.com, Quantum Brain brings new era of computing closer. This came out yesterday. An intelligent material that learns by physically changing itself, similar to how the human brain works, could be the foundation of a completely new generation of computers. Radboud physicists working towards this so-called quantum brain have made an important step. They have demonstrated that they can pattern and interconnect a network of single atoms and mimic the autonomous behavior of neurons and synapses in a brain. They report their discovery in Nature Nanotechnology on the 1st of February. Considering the growing global demand for computing capacity, more and more data centers are necessary, all of which leave an ever-expanding energy footprint. Quote, "It is clear that we have to find new strategies to store and process information in an energy-efficient way," says project leader Alexander Khajeturians, professor of scanning probe microscopy at Radboud University. Quote, "This requires not only improvements to technology, but also fundamental research in game-changing approaches. Our new idea of building a quantum brain based on the quantum properties of materials could be the basis for a future solution for applications in artificial intelligence." Dun, dun, dun. For artificial intelligence to work, a computer needs to be able to recognize patterns in the world and learn new ones. Today's computers do this via machine learning software that controls the storage and processing of information on a separate computer hard drive. Quote, "Until now, this technology, which is based on a century-old paradigm, worked sufficiently. However, in the end, it is a very energy inefficient process," says co-author Bert Kappen, professor of neural networks and machine intelligence. The physicists at Radboud University researched whether a piece of hardware could do the same without the need of software. They discovered that by constructing a network of cobalt atoms on black phosphorus, sounds spooky, they were able to build a material that stores and processes information in similar ways to the brain, and even more surprisingly, adapts itself. Yikes. In 2018, Khachaturians and collaborators showed that it was possible to store information in the state of a single cobalt atom. By applying a voltage to the atom, they could induce firing, where the atom shuttles between a value of 0 and 1 randomly, much like one neuron. They have now discovered a way to create tailored ensembles of these atoms and found that the firing behavior of these ensembles mimics the behavior of a brain-like model used in artificial intelligence. In addition to observing the behavior of spiked neurons, they were able to create the smallest synapse known to date. Unknowingly, they observed that these ensembles had an inherent adaptive property. Their synapses changed their behavior depending on what input they saw. When stimulating the material over a longer period of time with a certain voltage, they were very surprised to see that the synapses actually changed. The material adapted its reaction based on the external stimuli that it received. It learned by itself, said Khachaturians. Just to finish off here, the researchers now plan to scale up the system and build a larger network of atoms, as well as dive into quantum materials that can be used. Also, they need to understand why the atom network behaves as it does. We are at a state where we can start to relate fundamental physics to concepts in biology, like memory and learning, says Khachaturians. Quote, if we could eventually construct a real machine from this material, we would be able to build self-learning computing devices that are more energy efficient and smaller than today's computers. Yet, only when we understand how it works, and that is still a mystery, we'll be able to tune its behavior and start developing it into a technology. It is a very exciting time. Well, this is a great start to the inevitable takeover of independently intelligent machines, Gons. And just to boil this down for people who might not be able to follow sort of the technology talk in this article, more or less, they discovered that if they, get these individual cobalt atoms together and shoot some electricity into them, they automatically, on their own, adapt to certain circumstances and stimuli. This is not them programming an adaptation or a human-led reaction. This is very interesting, but also a very, potentially scary situation. I mean, the whole fear about artificial intelligence from Elon Musk and others like them is that, the intelligence of these machines will be out of our hands. And then, they can kind of take it from there and do what they want. And we just hope that we were polite enough to survive. But in this particular situation, they are admitting, much as we're used to with lots of different types of artificial intelligence, a lot of the researchers and engineers don't fully have a full grasp of what goes on within the mind of the machine. And that is the same case here. The difference being that this is not just software. This is not just a piece of code responding and creating its own type of intelligence. This is actual hardware. This is material substance that is operating without the guidance of a human being, which is pretty much as close to as you can get to a Hollywood robot apocalypse movie.
Yeah, the idea of a noosphere, Teilhard de Chardin, who's a Jesuit who came up with the word noosphere about 100 years ago. I think actually 2022 will be exactly 100 years since he first used the term noosphere. And noosphere basically being, the biosphere, being what we're in now. We have an atmosphere or whatever, but this next phase being the noosphere, nous or N-O-O. S being mind, or N-O-O, Newell, whatever. But yeah, it's this idea of emerging mind. And when you talk about these little things, these cobalt, shooting electricity and all this stuff, effectively, it's like building the infrastructure for an emerging consciousness. It's like, because we as humans, we have a conscious mind, and these scientists are basically figuring out how to build the physical building blocks of a type of technological brain, and they're seeing results. Basically, they're almost seeing like the beginnings of an emerging consciousness. And then he begs the question, like, okay, what consciousness is this? Is this are you creating a conscious mind that comes out of nowhere, or are you basically creating physical hosts for conscious entities that already exist, which has kind of been the thesis all along, that of an image of the beast. And, you know, Revelation 13 going into it, talking about the second beast performing signs on behalf of the first beast, deceiving those who dwell on the earth, which means the people of the earth are like enamored by this and telling them to make an image that has been wounded by the sword and yet lived. And so perhaps, you know, a world leader, whatever it is, an antichrist type of figure, man of sin, he gets a mortal head wound, and then they recreate this guy's image in a certain way. And the second beast being able to, was permitted to give it breath, which is only done at the beginning of Genesis when God breathes life into Adam and he becomes a living being. That whole thing is sort of counterfeited, and it's permitted to happen as an eschatological event. And when you talk about AI and you talk about robots and having consciousness and all this stuff, that's what it seems like to me. So, you know, people always talk about, I've talked to a lot of Christians that are like, oh, this transhuman thing and like achieving robot consciousness, they're never going to do it. They're never going to be able to achieve it. And my whole thing is, you're right. I don't think on our own accord we're going to get there. But once it's permitted, it's almost like, okay, we know that's a huge marker of like, well, we're in Revelation 13 because it seems like it is a key part of the two beast system described there. And of course, that image is allowed to speak. It could kill those who don't worship it and all that kind of stuff. So it's just a very interesting connection to the progress of where we're at with this technology. I talked a lot about this in Age of Deceit 2 and 3, and I thought this was an important story to get out there. I know a lot of people are really carried away with the COVID and the lockdowns and the politics and all that kind of stuff right now, but going back to some of our roots, Basil, of Canary Cry Radio, even, I mean, I think the first episode we talked about transhumanism and these types of topics. This is a pretty major development in that direction, because even back then it was theoretical. Even when we talked to Dr. Hugo de Garis, who was helping China build brains, like these mechanical, brains or whatever.
Right.
He was even like, I don't agree with what you guys are doing, but then also you got to remember, if this is public, what do they got going on in like the deep underground labs? So that's my bigger question. Anytime they publicly announce something, it's always like, all right, what's happening beneath our feet that they're not telling us about?
Yeah, and just to point out again, in connection with what you were referring to, this is not, most artificial intelligence as of now is all code. It's software.
Yeah, software.
It's the thing within the machine that is doing the artificial intelligencing. But what they've discovered here is entirely different. It's an entirely different physical structure than what you would think of with computer chips and circuits and things like that. So, in light of that, just like you were saying, it's building a completely new piece of hardware that, who knows, may open up the possibilities of habitation for consciousness, right. Or something like that. Even take away sort of a spiritual, it can be possessed by demons or whatever. But if you're talking about even uploading consciousness or transferring consciousness to a machine, this is the closest thing that we've actually seen that could potentially hold that type of possibility,
right,
on a hardware level.
Right. Well, and that really part of this, conversation about the hive mind And part of the theory of Teilhard de Chardin and his noosphere is the omega point. And the omega point is this apex of thought and consciousness where he adheres to it as the return of Christ. He thought of it as this is Christ returning in this mind evolution type thing. Mm-hmm. And if we're going to be tied into it, there has to be a physical layer. You can't just plug into the Ethernet cable into your brain or whatever.
Right.
You got to have that physical medium to translate that information. And so to have hardware like this developing that really does seem to be mimicking synapse behavior of the brain, you're really starting to talk about, okay, human brains and their the electrical operations of our brains can start to communicate and interact and perhaps even connect to such a global type of brain that they're trying to build. Mm-hmm. And that is a whole nother level of, it's all the science fiction stuff you've heard of, but this is real life. It's just, right. It's not science fiction anymore type of thing.
Yeah. So, and it is to be said that this is in very early stages and they've done it on very small scales, but even considering the progress that's been made just in the 8 years since we've been doing our shows, even less so the progress that's been made in the last 3 years, it would not surprise me if the speed at which this was developed and scaled up really took everybody by surprise. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a date setter, but it would not surprise me if they had sort of a full-scale functioning version of this by, who even knows, next year even.
Yeah. Well, part of it too, we mentioned in the last episode how the World Economic Forum over the weekend announced their Gaia, the whole Gaia thing with whatever it was, the Council for AI goodness, whatever it was called. I can't remember the words there, but if you think about that whole thing with Gaia is all the physical and the inorganic, or the organic and inorganic coming together, iron mixed with miry clay type of thing. And I think connecting it to the vaccine and the pandemic and all that kind of stuff, and the Silicon Valley takeover of the world and the lockdowns, and we're never going to have a non-pandemic era ever again. Something's going to always be out there in terms of a germ or a virus or whatever. We're always going to have some kind of pandemic every few years. I think that's just. I think that's what's going to go on. I don't think we're getting out of this type of governmental behavior. I think it's all being set up to curate and to parse out who can participate in hooking up to the global brain and who can't, because it's almost like, oh, you're not for the vaccine. Well, you're a bad person. You're not for LGBTQ. You're a bad person. You're not good enough to, so there's this weird ethical, moral stick being thrown out there that if you're not able to comply to that, then you are bad and you cannot participate in this beautiful, glorious global brain we have created. It's just bizarre how that's it's developing. But that's what I think connecting it to all the pandemic stuff is that they're getting ready to cultivate. Is that the right word? Humanity or harvest, I guess. Where and that's what's interesting too. There's biblical language there. With the rapture and the harvest and all this kind of stuff, the wheat and the tares. Mm-hmm. It's almost like the tares are being desired by the beast. It's just a transparency, this line being drawn in the sand. So anyway, I don't know, gone off on a little tangent rant there, but
it's a big jump. It ties a lot of things together. We'll see how that progresses, but yeah, that was some pretty big news in the world of hardware and artificial intelligence, and it doesn't sound. Of course, I have no technical understanding of exactly what they're doing there, but it does not sound complicated to scale up.
No,
relatively.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. It doesn't sound like they're creating that they have to build that process brick by brick. It sounds like the process happens itself. So it's just a matter of, getting more cobalt, baby.
And something else to remember is that, people always discuss quantum. The word quantum has this, especially in our circles, a negative connotation. Like, the quantum, they're trying to rip a hole in time, space, and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
But if you kind of think about it, isn't our own brain kind of a quantum machine? It kind of bridges our spirit or our soul to a physical body. It's almost got like an immaterial to material transition thing going on. So I don't know, man. I think God already created a quantum machine, and it's our brains.
Sure.
And they're trying to, decode it basically. But as these things progress, what about our own computers?
I'm your brain.
And that's something that this story here, MirageNews.com, mentioned. Researchers unleash potential of desktop PCs to run simulations of mammals' brains.
Yay.
Yay. University of Sussex academics have established a method of turbocharging desktop PCs to give them the same capability as supercomputers worth tens of millions of pounds. Dr. James Knight and Professor Thomas Nowanty from the University of Sussex's School of Engineering and Informatics used the latest graphical processing units to give a single desktop PC the capacity to simulate brain models of almost unlimited size.
Wow.
The researchers believe the innovation, detailed in Nature Computational Science, will make it possible for many more researchers around the world to carry out research on large-scale brain simulation, including the investigation of neurological disorders. Currently, the cost of supercomputers is so prohibitive, they are only affordable to very large institutions and government agencies, and so are not accessible for a large number of researchers. As well as shaving tens of millions of pounds off the cost of a supercomputer, the simulations run on the desktop PC require approximately 10 times less energy, bringing a significant sustainability benefit too.
Oh, very important.
Yeah, very important. 2030.
With the Great Reset, if you don't have sustainability built in, you're out of luck.
Yep. Dr. Knight, research fellow in computer science at the University of Sussex, said, quote, "I think the main benefit of our research is one of accessibility. Outside of these very large organizations, academics typically have to apply to get even limited time on a supercomputer for a particular scientific purpose. This is quite a high barrier for entry, which is potentially holding back a lot of significant research. Our hope for our own research now is to apply these techniques to brain-inspired machine learning so that we can help solve problems that biological brains excel at, but which are currently beyond simulations." Ooh, human brains are beyond simulations, eh? Maybe, pause for a second. Again, invoking the conversation, the theistic conversation here. If it takes all this design and money and all this stuff to simulate a brain, like we have to build something, we have to build it, to get to a level of a brain. We have to design these elements. Maybe the human brain is also designed. I don't know. What do I know?
Yeah, well, you don't got to convince me.
As well as the advances we have demonstrated in procedural connectivity to the context of GPU hardware, we also believe that there is also potential for developing new types of neuromorphic hardware built from the ground up for procedural connectivity. Key components could be implemented directly in hardware, which could lead to even more truly significant compute time improvements. The research builds on the pioneering work of U.S. researcher Eugene Izikevich, who pioneered a similar method for large-scale brain simulation in 2006. And yada, yada, yada. I'm not going to read the rest of it here. It gets a little bit more in the weeds there. Although, there is one thing. Initialization of the researchers' model took 6 minutes, and simulation of each biological second took 7.7 minutes in the ground state and 8.4 minutes in the resting state, up to 35% less than a previous supercomputer simulation. In 2018, one rack of an IBM Blue Gene Q supercomputer, Q supercomputer, initialization of the model took around 5 minutes, and simulating 1 second of biological time took approximately 12 minutes. It's so weird how there's like computational time is different from reality time. You know, it's another one of those weird bendy things.
Yeah. So, what they're saying there is they've found a way to have a basically commercially viable brain simulation, not needing to use a supercomputer, but just sort of a high-end GPU that anybody can get their hands on.
Right.
But, works a little slower than maybe a supercomputer, but still can get it all done, which is still pretty impressive.
Yep.
Yeah. Maybe I should jump in. This is there's some interesting possibilities here. I wonder, I don't know much about this particular system, but I wonder if, somebody who has the type of smarts to be able to set this up, sounds like a way you can just create your own virtual girlfriend.
I think that's part of the plan for a lot of
Reminds me of that movie Her.
Yeah.
I mean, data and operating system.
Yeah, I know. They were so their gender thing was so bad. Her, come on.
Oh, come on. Yeah, that wouldn't stand in 2020.
No.
It'd have to be them.
2021. Yeah, they.
More
Beast.
So, yeah, so we've talked about machine brains. We've talked about mammal brains. It's time to get the plants involved, Gons.
Speaking of the beast system, beast system.
Euronews.com scientists have taught spinach to send emails, and it could warn us about climate change.
Oh, wonderful.
Perfect.
Yay. Popeye was onto something.
Yeah, it may sound like something out of a futuristic science fiction film, but scientists have managed to engineer spinach plants which are capable of sending emails. What? Through nanotechnology, engineers at MIT in the U.S. have transformed spinach into sensors capable of detecting explosive materials.
Who's dropping explosive materials on a spinach farm?
You're going to go through...
is that Brutus?
You're going to go through
Brutus.
TSA.
No, it's Brutus.
Next time you take your COVID test, then you walk up and there's a little spinach plant there. You have to wave your backpack next to the spinach and just hope that the spinach, isn't having a bad day or fighting with its wife, or else you'll get the full treatment. When the spinach roots detect the presence of nitroaromatics in groundwater, a compound often found in explosives like landmines, the carbon nanotubes within the plant leaves emit a signal. This signal is then read by an infrared camera, sending an email alert to the scientists. This experiment is part of a wider field of research which involves engineering electronic components and systems into plants. The technology is known as plant nanobionics and is effectively the process of giving plants new abilities. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it's a Bluto, by the way, not Brutus. It's Bluto, the guy who always fights Popeye. Did you ever watch Popeye growing up?
Yeah.
Yeah, Bluto's the guy always fighting him, the big dude.
Okay.
He would be planting landmine explosives in spinach farms to keep Popeye from eating those spinach, because he always loses when he eats the spinach cans. Anyway, go on.
And this has been your old cartoon update from Gons. This experiment is part of a wider field of research which involves engineering electronic components. Oh, I already read that. Quote, plants are very good analytical chemists, explains Professor Michael Strano, who led the research. Quote, they have an extensive root network in the soil, are constantly sampling groundwater, and have a way to self-power the transport of that water up to the leaves. Quote, this is a novel demonstration of how we have overcome the plant-human communication barrier. Oh, finally, we can talk to plants. While the purpose of this experiment was to detect explosives, Strano and other scientists believe it could be used to help warn researchers about pollution and other environmental conditions. Because of the vast amount of data plants absorb up from their surroundings, they are ideally situated to monitor ecological changes. In the early phases of plant nanobionic research, Strano used nanoparticles to make plants into sensors for pollutants. By altering how the plant plants photosynthesized, he was able to have them detect nitric oxide, a pollutant caused by combustion. Then it goes, there's a little bit more here. Plants are very environmentally responsive, Strano says. They know that there is going to be a drought long before we do. They can detect small changes in the properties of the soil and water potential. If we tap into those chemical signaling pathways, there is a wealth of information to access. When it's not busy emailing researchers, spinach seems to also hold the key to efficiently powering fuel cells too. And then it goes into how they're using spinach to make fuel. So yeah, that's pretty wild, man. You know, there's a video game. Well, there's been plenty of video games that kind of touch on this. There was a game that came out a few years ago called Horizon. And basically, you're kind of a cave woman running around, and yet much of the environment is robots. There's like robot dinosaurs and things like that. It's pretty interesting. I never played that much of it, but fascinating concept. But you know, you can see a world, I mean, and connected to the Panopticon too, when suddenly all the plants are also surveilling things, whether or not it's your house plant sort of keeping an eye on you in your house, or just detecting certain conditions. You know, they're what is it called? They're drafting all the plants, which used to be sort of the symbol of the wild and nature and freedom from technological slavery. No longer. Sounds like there's a future where even the plants in your backyard could be integrated into the panopticon of surveillance. Think about the big data that you could buy and sell in the big data market if you had all the plants giving you big data.
Yeah, they're going to have a spinach plant rebellion against the big tech. They're coming at them. You know, what's interesting too, when it comes to talking trees, you know, or talking plants in general, there's a mythological connection to it. In Greek mythology, all the trees in Dodona, which is northwestern Greece, in the grove there, the forest beside the sanctuary of Zeus became endowed with the gift of prophecy, and the oaks not only spoke and delivered oracles while in a living state, but when built into the ship Argo, the wood spoke and warned of approaching calamities.
Ooh.
So the rustling of the leaves of an oak tree was regarded as the voice of Zeus. So
interesting
connection to Zeus, plants talking. It's all ancient. There's nothing new under the sun, Basil. This has all been done before in a more mythological sense, but now with spiky needles and iron.
Yeah. Wow. Fascinating connection.
I wish I had my "Are You Ready to Be Cyborg" clip ready or jingle ready and play it for my can of spinach. I'll just put the can of spinach in front of the speaker. Are you ready to become cyborg?
Don't take the mark, spinach. You're beautiful just how you are.
We love you.
You don't need to change. Don't get hooked into the system.
Too late.
Yeah.
Too late. There's already half the spinach, going with it. Okay, one more story before we take a quick break here.
Mind control intensifies.
This is a Coors Light commercial, Coors Light. This big game coming up this Sunday, Basil. Are you watching the big game?
The big game. No.
Big game of grown men pushing each other for a pigskin down a pasture. Is that what? Somebody put it that way. I can't remember who it was. Kent Hovind or someone.
I don't remember. But yeah, no, I wasn't even aware that it was happening.
There was a bunch of companies that decided not to endorse, have commercials in this year's big game, because we're not allowed to say that the bowl of super that's happening.
Yes.
Which I don't care, but we're just playing the game there. But
no, you'll get nicked.
I know
on the YouTube if we say the official trademark of the big game.
I know. Somebody should just trademark the big game. So this commercial is going to air that day, and I think it's like $5 million per commercial. But this is a 15-second commercial, and let's just play it here.
How do you create the most refreshing big game commercial ever? You put it in people's dreams.
I saw some mountains.
Find out more at CoorsBigGameDream.com.
So
what?
Yeah. How weird is that? How do you create
I don't think I fully understand.
Okay, how do you create the most refreshing big game commercial ever?
Well, obviously, you put it in people's dreams.
You put it in people's dreams, and it shows people, sleeping with cables attached to their heads or whatever, and then like a series
EKG stuff all over them,
and then like a series of images, some psychedelic looking images, and bubbles and creepy tongues and stuff. And then like a woman, what does she say here? She says like something, hold on, let me see if I can.
I saw some mountains.
I saw some mountains.
Uh-huh.
So she's like explaining what she saw in her dream because they're showing the mountain springs where Coors Light comes from.
Great.
You know, Coors Light, you could just get it off
just
Mount
comes
Everest.
right out of the ground. So are they putting it into people's dreams or are they creating the ad from people's dreams?
I'm not 100% sure.
Oh.
I really don't know. I think we're going to have to find out on Sunday during the big game. But
that's crazy.
But this is like, I don't know what level, this is just a marketing ploy. Is this just them trying to be creative? But it does.
The fact that the mainstream appeal of hacking into a brain and either putting an advertisement in the dreams or taking an advertisement out of the dreams, the fact that would have mainstream appeal enough to pay the $5 million to have it on the big game, that's crazy. I mean, that says more than anything. That says more than the actual ad itself. The fact that, when it comes to advertisements, especially advertisements during the big game, it's all very specifically crafted and it's all comes from big data and, meta analytics to make sure that the $5 million, goes the furthest to affecting people's purchasing behavior. The fact that talking about transhumanism and invading your dreams and the technology involved in all that has a wide mainstream appeal enough to be played during the big game is if that's not a canary in the coal mine, I don't know what is.
Yeah, the tweet here says, "Can Coors put a big game commercial in your dreams?" So I think it is trying to play the commercial in your dream, which is like basically planting thoughts, planting memories.
Yeah.
And if we go back to 2014, I think, right? Yeah, 2014, this is Smithsonian Mag. Meet the two scientists who implanted a false memory into a mouse.
Yeah. Well, they've been doing this with mice and slugs, and we've been following that since the beginning of this show. But yeah, it's come to a place where, I don't know, this is interesting. I'll be curious if they actually did this or if they're just sort of banking off the idea of it.
Well, that's what
this is the future. This is the future of your dream life, folks.
Yeah. You advertising into your dreams. Come on. This is.
Yeah.
The last, and for alcohol too, like, let me get into your subconscious, promote this alcohol drink so that you can black out and you will be even more in your subconscious where we can speak to you with our.
This is an interesting term. So, Steven over on YouTube says, "Don't be a sonsumer, LOL." I'm not sure if this is what they meant, but they spelled it SONSUMER. But if you think about somnsumer, SOMN, sumer, a sleeping consumer, somnsumer, that is a pretty heavy philosophical idea. That hit me pretty hard, Stephen. I would argue that many normies are I can't even say it. Somsumers, people just being asleep and buying whatever is advertised to them. But this certainly puts a new spin on that.
Yeah, we already have potentially in the next few years here advertisements in like the sky. with the Neuralink, Elon's Tesla or Elon's face.
Oh, that's yesterday's news, baby.
That's what I'm saying, but we haven't exactly seen all the lights and stuff in the sky yet. But it's going to just be, this is I thought would be a perfect story going into the break because, we talk about advertising, we talk about mind control, and it's selling your attention and stuff like that. What about selling your dream space? What about that?
Yeah. Steven replied, he said, no, I messed up. You're freaking me out, man. I keep misspeaking and saying something that's too real. Yeah. Your typo affected the direction of the show, Steven. That's why we love the live broadcasts and our live viewers.
It's all connected.
Yeah. Wow. Sam Sumer. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, what else you got? All done? Should we take a quick break?
Everybody loves waffles.
It's break time. Come on, take a break.
Okay, folks, don't go anywhere because after the quick break, then we're going to be moving into some politics. We saved politics for the second half of the show today. But, oh my gosh, a lot of important stuff, not just with politics, but we've got an update on the bones of St. James, as well as some artificial intelligence and some other stuff going on. So very important. Stick through the break. I know you can do it. Stay strong, but we're going to take just a second to thank some of our producers. That's right. I said producers. You might notice we don't do any advertising. We don't even advertise in your dreams. You must wakefully choose to listen to this podcast.
That's our next angle. It's we're not advertising. At least we're not advertising to your dreams, folks.
Yeah, at least that. We may now take corporate money, but at least we don't advertise in your dreams.
Although I've had people, and I don't know how to take this as a compliment or not, but there have been people, I've gone to conferences and stuff, and I don't know if you've heard this before, Basil, but people come up to you and they say, or they've come up to me and said like, oh, I love watching or listening to your videos or listening to your podcast to sleep.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay. So number one, we put you to sleep. Number two, isn't that weird?
I think that's a great compliment.
I know, but it's just there's a part of me that's always kind of weirded out.
It means you bring comfort, Gons.
Okay, all right, that's good.
Now, I did mention producers, and Ebony Blaze in the chat says, hey, Basil, what's a producer? Well, thanks for asking, Ebony Blaze. You might notice how we don't take any corporate money on this show. Lately, with online media, it's become easier and easier for independent shows like ours to get into the advertising scheme and start taking corporate money. But we decided long ago that is a pretty bad call for a lot of reasons. You become beholden to your corporate sponsors. You must stay brand safe, and you suddenly have a list of things you're not supposed to talk about, and that just doesn't work for us. But also because the advertising industry is so integrated with big data, the panopticon, surveillance, all that kind of stuff. And censorship. It all stems from the advertising industry, or at least that's their excuse for a lot of those things. So we decided that was not the way for us, which is not good for our bank account, but at least we get to sleep at night. And so what we do is operate on the value for value model, which means we create value 3 times a week, sometimes more, and that you are then given the opportunity to put value back in. Now, you may be thinking, why would I do that? Why would I pay for a podcast? I don't need to pay for Joe Rogan. Why would I pay for Canary Cry News Talk? Well, my friend, that's because participating in the value for value model does a couple of things. Number one, it makes it so Gons and I can keep our integrity as far as continuing to do the show. Doing the show is not free. And it's not even cheap. I mean, once you get to a certain level and paying for bandwidth and all the websites and everything like that, this is not a cheap enterprise. So not only do you keep the show going, which if it's something you value, should be important to you, but you also get to participate in a spiritual rebellion against the sort of big data cyber takeover that wants to turn you, dear listener, into a subsumer, a sleeping consumer who is not wakefully, intentionally supporting the media that you want to continue, but instead to be brainwashed by advertisements, sleeping or waking, in order to create a monetary system that ultimately benefits big corporations and governments. So if you want to rebel against that, if you want to keep the show going, the only way this show continues is when dear listeners become dear producers. And that's right. That's not just a cute name. If you pay to keep a piece of media getting produced, that means you are a producer. There's a couple ways of doing that. The first way is you can head to patreon.com/CCNT for Canary Cry News Talk. That's patreon.com/CCNT. And real quick, I see Firebird on YouTube says, I wish we could donate via YouTube too. You know, we wish that as well, but we have been completely demonetized on all the big platforms. So, you know, donating through YouTube also pays YouTube. Just don't worry about it. One way to do it is to head to patreon.com/CCNT, and we've got a couple new producers over there. Did you have something important?
I was just going to say they took away our super chat capabilities.
Yeah, they took away it all. Yeah. Plus they got like a third of it too. Ugh. So you got to reach out, folks. Don't depend on big Google companies to allow you to support anything, much less this podcast. You got to take a couple of clicks. One way is patreon.com/CCNT. And we've got a couple new producers over there, Gons. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank producer Kevin D coming in to support. Thank you very much, producer Kevin D.
Producer Kevin D.
And next, this producer I noticed in the chat in the last couple shows. So I don't know if you're new or not, but either way, thank you for your support. And that is producer Szechuan McNugget Sauce. Thank you very much. Producer Szechuan McNugget Sauce. Sounds like we have a Rick and Morty fan producing the show here.
I watched the first episode of Rick and Morty, and the wife happened to be sitting there watching as well.
Oh, that's a bad call.
It was not kid friendly.
No,
especially the first episode. So
it's barely adult friendly, but there you go. All right. So there you go. Those are our new producers over on Patreon. Thank you guys so much for joining the rebellion and keeping the show going. Next, now listen up, those of you who are so sad that we don't have YouTube super chats anymore. You can head on over, do it right now, to canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
That's right. canarycryradio.com/support. We'll pop the link in the chat there if anybody's interested. That is a great way to become a producer of the show. First of all, there are many options. You can become a sustaining monthly producer, which we thank all of our monthly producers for helping lay down a foundation of support for the show. But if commitment is not your thing, you can go ahead and make a one-time producership in any amount. And that is all via PayPal. There's also cryptocurrency options and a bunch of good literature there about the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames, as well as the value for value system. Gons, who do we have coming in on the PayPal?
PayPal, first up, we got producer Saul A coming in once again.
Thank you very much, producer Saul, with a pocket full of sevens.
And his note actually references a piece of art that he gave us, so I will save that for the art section.
Okay.
Next up, we have producer Eric R. Thank you, producer Eric R. He's a new monthly producer.
Thank you very much, Eric R. Producer
and I believe our executive producer of today's show is Sir Jason, Knight of the Anti-Foo-Bar.
Ah, we've got a returning knight supporting the show.
A knight supporting the show. And he says in a note, my Kung Flu donation, LOL.
Wow,
Sir
what
Jason,
a relic of 2020.
Well,
remember when we could freely call it the Kung Flu?
Well, Sir Jason tested positive.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, poor Sir Jason.
And he's I guess his work area are really pushing the vaccine. I don't think he's taken it.
Oh, wow.
But,
yeah. Well, now you don't need it.
Yeah, no, you don't need it. You got it. And,
yeah. Well, sorry to hear that, Sir Jason. Thank you very much for your support.
Don't go to Canada.
Yeah, don't go anywhere. Stay in your home. Thank you, Sir Jason.
Spoken like a true totalitarian, Basil. Stay in your home. Don't go anywhere.
Stay in your home.
Listen to the show.
You don't want to spread that. If you got it, don't go spreading it.
I don't even know if he really got it. I was asking him,
how does he
find
feel?
out?
Have you talked to him how he feels?
I think he had a little bit of like the sniffles and, just kind of, he said that it's the annual flu feeling he always gets. Like once a year he gets a little sick.
Yeah.
And yeah. So
yeah, I will say this though. 2020, usually, if you've been listening to the show for any amount of years, you know that I get pretty, I'll get sick twice a year. I'll be in bed twice a year. Sometimes I'll have to miss a show or something. But 2020 didn't get sick once. It was great. Might have been because I was keeping up on my vitamin D and my zinc, but also not, getting sneezed on at the DMV or something. But whatever it was, Sir Jason, feel better, buddy.
Yeah. So thank you for that. And we do have a night. I think we're going to wait a couple episodes so the night can join us live.
Yes.
So look out for that. We didn't have any crypto come in. Another way you can support the show with your producership is with your jingles and your artwork, your talent, and your time.
Yes.
We didn't have any jingles come in, but we do have some art to share.
One art, please.
And first up, we have producer Ali. A picture of Psaki.
Yes, the secretary of what is it called? Whoa!
Sorry.
Phone call.
Sorry.
Holy smokes! Yes, thank you very much, producer Ali, one of our most prolific artists here, and it is actually a very good rendering of Psaki. What's her first name?
Jennifer Psaki.
Jen.
And by the way, I think you had mentioned like, oh, she's new, give her a break. I think she was here during the Obama period too. So I don't know if she was the press secretary then. I got to double check that, but yeah, sorry, I got a phone call coming in. It's totally taking over the thing here.
I know.
Yes,
Stop talking. I'll describe this.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much, Ali, for our portrait of Jennifer Psaki here, and of course, she's saying, "I'll have to circle back with you on that." Oh,
I know. I'm sorry.
Is that coming through on your Mac?
It is, yeah.
Oh, you gotta disconnect that, brother.
Yeah, I know.
Hope it's not important. But producer Ali, very well done, and thank you very much. We're gonna have to circle back with you on that. What's next?
Okay, next up we have producer Saul.
Woo!
He was his donation or support earlier. He says, the bands and the artwork I sent are not real, by the way. Don't go looking them up. It's just a goof.
Ah, yes, this is fun. This is it's kind of an old punk rock concert flyer, black and white, been photocopied for a show. And it says, Canary Cry Radio presents The Return, featuring Noah's Flood solo. And we have... two, what is it?
2S2D2, two saved to die twice.
Wow, these are some very creative punk bands here.
Yeah.
Bruised Head, Bruised Heel. Yes, Bruised Head, Bruised Heel. Man, why is it? I can't see this. Hold on. Can you read that?
Bruised Head, Bruised Heel?
No, the next one.
Oh. Let's see. Ooh, that's a tough one.
Nonfiction.
Crucial Nonfiction.
Okay. And then the opening act, Basil and the Turds.
Turds.
Let's face it. This messiah sitting in the third temple is a total poser. Things have been terrible since he arrived. Not to worry, though. The real one is on his way. Come do your part in ushering him in by helping us rebuild the prophesied third Christian hardcore mosh pit this Saturday, if you're still alive. Come down to the CBGB. I wonder what that stands for. And help welcome him in a nice and heavy way. $45 at the door. Ooh, that's not a cheap show.
You don't know about CBGB?
Venue limit 144,000. No, what's CBGB?
You don't. Oh, I'm surprised you didn't know about it. It's one of
Just
New
tell
York's. It was one of New York's major punk clubs in the 70s. It was where a lot of big time. I think it used to be kind of like a blues place, but then punk rock really got popular in the. I think it was late 70s, 80s. Ramones, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I was never a real big punk guy.
Oh yeah, you're more down by the bayou.
Well, in my younger
Bluegrass.
days, I had a brief dalliance with ska, and then went straight to the hardcore metal.
Yeah.
I didn't really spend very much time in the official punk scene.
Yeah, well, I didn't either. I just know about it because just peripherally, being a metalhead, you kind of hear a little bit more about the Misfits and the Ramones and stuff like that. So anyway, yeah, that's what CBGB is.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right,
thank you very much, Producer Saul. That was very fun. A new take on the Canary Cry art.
Yes.
And yeah, like I said, venue limit is 144,000.
Right.
So get it? Cha-ching.
Ching. Okay, and then 3 pieces of art to share from producer Grace, always coming in with the quotes. This first one here is it has to do with the COVID testing vending machines.
Yes.
Spit here for testing.
They're planning for the long haul.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Just to be clear, because there's a lot of when we talked about the COVID testing vending machines that are going to be popping up everywhere, you don't spit into the machine. You don't spit on the machine. You just get a little box, and then you spit in the box and mail that off to a lab or something. But thank you very much, Producer Grace.
We got a couple more from her. This next one. Oh, did I accidentally put the same one in there twice? Oh, I did. Hold on. Give me a second to pull up the second one.
Okay.
Here we go. There it is.
And in reference to this next one, we talked about last show how 20 million, the Biden administration has lost track of 20 million vaccine doses. Yeah, my response to that was, I think they've gone to the black market. And Producer Grace has, yes, we've got all sorts of syringes that are making it onto the streets.
Yes, and then we got one more, and this one was actually quoted at the top of the RSS version of the last episode. So, and it says, "I'm not saying that Anderson Cooper eats babies, but he did not deny it."
Yes, it's true. Very suspicious, Anderson Cooper, with your repentant QAnon follower you had on your show there. But yeah, I didn't hear him say you didn't eat babies. Just saying. Not accusing anybody of anything. Just making an observation.
Sure. Wow. So there you go. Those are all the producers. And thank you to Jade Bouncerson for continuing with the timestamps. Really appreciate that. And that's it. Thank you for all the supporters.
Well, thank you to all of our producers for the show, 295, all of our artists, as well as producer Kevin, producer Szechuan McNugget Sauce, producer Eric, producer and Sir Jason, Knight of the Anti-Foo-Bar. We couldn't do the show without your guys' support, and we appreciate it very much. If you're out there and you want to participate in the rebellion against corporate money seeping its way into independent media, you can head over to canarycryradio.com/support.
And I'm getting there.
canarycryradio.com/support.
Okay, anything else, or should we wake on up?
Let's wake up. Sorry, there was I usually have the elder daughter watch the youngest baby for the last half hour or so, but I don't know if she's here because I have a sleeping 3-month-old to my right now, which he's sleeping. So it's
oh gosh, this could blow up at any moment.
I don't know if we want to wake up, but
yeah. Okay, stay asleep.
Hey, yo, wake up.
Some no sumer.
Yes.
All right. Where do you want to start with this?
Some politics.
It's Latin for many. Tick. They'll suck your blood. They'll suck
Politics.
your blood.
That song is stuck in my head so much. Last episode, we talked about Myanmar. Whoa, I thought this was muted. and the military taking over, and a video went viral.
The military coup in Myanmar,
Yeah. There's a video that went viral. A woman did her regular aerobics class in open without realizing that a coup was taking place in Myanmar. The military convoy reaching the parliament can be seen behind the woman as she performs aerobics.
This
Incredible.
is funny.
It's just unreal. You see like the big trucks and the police cars and everything. This is like
she's doing like a Zumba, her own little Zumba stream, and behind her a bunch of black SUVs and military vehicles are rolling past her to go take over the government. Wow, that is funny.
It's almost
I'm
surreal.
jealous.
I know. This is like great.
I'm so jealous. This is going to be great in history lessons, in the future.
Yeah, pay attention to your government.
Wow.
I guess. But there you go. And I mean,
we got to get this woman on the podcast.
Just have her be dancing.
This is crazy. Wow, good for her. That's fun.
I'm not too impressed with her moves, but and then she does do a peek. She kind of looks back like, huh? And then she keeps
What's
going.
going on back there?
Keeps going. There's no stopping.
Yeah. Whoa! Somebody zooms. Oh wow! Yeah, look at him go.
No, it's full on.
This is hilarious. Wow, cool. Do we have a name for this woman? We should all follow this woman. She has a great workout channel, apparently.
I don't think. King Henin Huai.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough for me to do it. But
well, there's this other little funny thing that popped up, and I'm going to take this from CNN.com. The headline is, the man third in line of presidential succession has been in 5 Batman movies.
What?
Yeah. Now, remember, President Trump got a bunch of guff for having been on TV and in movies.
Yeah.
But the man third in line has been in 5 Batman movies. For as many foes as the superhero fends off, Batman has a formidable team of supporters, starting with his sidekick Robin, Gotham City Commissioner James Gordon, and his ever-loyal butler Alfred Pennyworth. But one of the Caped Crusader's most fervent supporters lies not in a comic book, but in the U.S. Senate, and he's known, the Bat, for more than 80 years. Whoa, this guy's old. Senator Patrick Leahy, a Democrat from Vermont and the longest serving member of the current Senate, is a Batman aficionado who's turned his fandom into philanthropy. He's even used the comics to forward his legislative agenda. Now, President pro tempore of the Senate, Leahy, is third in the presidential line of succession, though it's unlikely he'll ever have to serve as president. His high-profile position shines a brighter light on his colorful resume, which includes multiple appearances in the Batman films. When he's not working in the Senate chambers in Washington, Leahy retreats to Gotham, where Batman fights cartoonish villains and mans the Batmobile. It's a comfort he took up when he was 4 years old. Quote, "If you live in the real world all the time, it can be kind of boring," the senator told Vermont alt weekly newspaper 7 Days in 2008. Leahy declined an interview for this story through his spokesperson, but his affinity for all things Batman is well documented, as he wrote in the foreword of Detective Comics, 80 Years of Batman. He was born just 1 year after Batman's first comic published in 1939. He first discovered Batman at age 4, yada, yada, yada. Let's see. Leahy's appearances from page to screen. Leahy was elected to the Senate in 1974, and until the mid-1990s, his affinity for Batman didn't have much to do with his duties on Capitol Hill. That changed in 1996 when Leahy collaborated with DC Comics to create Batman: Death of Innocence, the Horror of Landmines, a graphic novel warning of the dangers of landmines. Leahy has long advocated to end the use of landmines, and he told Capitol Hill newspaper Roll Call that he has placed copies of the comic on every senator's desk that year. Leahy's first foray into screen acting, something he does strictly when Batman is involved, came in 1995 when he appeared in the critically reviled Batman Forever. The same year, he voiced a character. Batman Forever was a classic. What do you mean critically reviled? He voiced
CNN.
Yeah, right. He voiced a character billed as Territorial Governor in Batman the Animated Series. Leahy scowling. Since then, Leahy has appeared in nearly as many Batman films as the Caped Crusader himself. He usually appears as a scowling politician. Though in Batman and Robin, which his son Mark also had a cameo in, he was allowed to enjoy a raucous party. He even met an explosive end as the curiously named Senator Purington in Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. I explained to everybody that getting blown up was okay because my wife was a registered nurse, he joked to Roll Call.
Oh, funny guy.
Funny. She put me back together and I never missed a vote. Yada, yada, yada. There you go. Leahy loves Batman, and just an interesting entwining with this politician and, the entertainment industry going on over there at DC.
I think this clips makes a lot more sense now.
If you're working alone, wear a mask. The mask's not for you. It's to protect the people you care about.
Okay. Makes more sense.
Yeah. Moving on. This is from news.yahoo.com. Newsmax host walks out during chaotic interview with MyPillow guy.
Oh, yeah, this was interesting.
Yeah.
Now, Newsmax, of course, has been one of those outlets that kind of took the side of Trump and did a lot of the pushing of the election fraud, voter fraud thing, Dominion voting, and then ended up being threatened with a lawsuit that inevitably, made them heal. Get away from the conspiracy theories.
Yes.
So what do we got here?
Well, the story here, MyPillow guy or MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell's wild conspiracy theories about the presidential election forced Newsmax host Bob Sellers to walk out of their on-air interview in frustration on Tuesday. The interview was seemingly intended to be about Twitter's decision to suspend both Lindell's personal account and MyPillow's company account because he was using them to spread the conspiracy theories. But perhaps, unsurprisingly, Lindell attempted to use his Newsmax appearance for the same purposes, claiming to have evidence about voting machine tampering. Sellers quickly shut that down and tried to get the exchange back on track, but Lindell continued ranting, although it was difficult to tell what exactly he was saying as he and Sellers talked over each other. Eventually, Sellers gave up and walked off set. And you want to play a little clip of it, or do you think...
Yeah, I think go ahead and play
it. What happened with your Twitter account and the company page?
Well, first mine was taken down because we have all the election fraud with these Dominion machines. We have 100% proof. And then when they took it down about 3 weeks ago, and then when I put it back up, my personal, it was a
Mike, thank you very much. Mike, you're talking about machines that we at Newsmax have not been able to verify any of those kinds of allegations. We just want to let people know that there's nothing substantive that we've seen. And let me read you something there.
Mike's trying to talk, but they turned down his mic.
Of some cases of vote fraud and election irregularities, the election results in every state were certified, and Newsmax accepts the results as legal and final. The courts have also supported that view.
He's now reading a statement that he has on his desk.
Canceling culture, if you will. We don't want to relitigate the allegations that you're making, Mike, because we understand where you are.
Oh, this is just out of control.
Yeah, it completely goes off the rails.
Because it appears to be permanent. Could you make an argument that it is temporary?
Oh, they both stopped.
Could you make an argument that this could be a temporary banning rather than permanent?
No, I want it to be a permanent because you know what? They did this because I'm revealing all the evidence on Friday of all the election fraud with these machines. So I'm sorry if you think it's not
Mike,
real.
Can I ask our producers, can we get out of here, please? I don't want to have to keep going over this.
Rescue me.
Save me.
Wait,
now she's talking too.
Hold on a second. Everybody hold on a second. Mike, hold on 1 second. Let's talk a little bit about
and then
just what is
he takes off his thing and he stands up and he leaves. Not Mike, but the original male reporter there. He's
Newsmax guy.
It really shows the amount of what the threat actually was. It kind of looks like that reporter might have been named personally in that legal threat because, you know, if he is just an employee, of course he would, under, you know, instructions, stop any conversation about Dominion and the voting stuff. But for him to just totally extricate himself from the situation, he's scared. He's very scared. And of course, we know that, yes, that the legal threats from Dominion were quite extensive, asking for more than $1 billion just from, what was her name? The Kraken lady.
Yeah, Sidney Powell.
Sidney Powell, yes. Yeah. And so Newsmax was also a receiver of some of those threats. So, yeah, they don't even want to touch it.
Well, the other part of it, too, Newsmax, again, during that whole Trump getting censored and all that, people flooded. They all went to places like Newsmax. That was one of the big outlets that people went to. You don't have to do a whole lot of digging. The CEO of Newsmax Media, Christopher Ruddy, is a member of the International Council chaired by Henry Kissinger.
Oh, so he's all hooked in.
He's hooked in. So of course they're going to eventually toe the line. They were just using the opportunity to appeal to the conservatives to get views. Yeah. And everyone should stop watching Newsmax. I don't think people necessarily.
If you ever should have. I was never convinced on them in the first place.
No, neither was I, but.
Okay, I got one more story here for politics.
Okay.
And this is coming from Vice.
Ooh.
Yes, and it's about our buddy, the QAnon shaman.
Ooh, horns guy.
Yes. The horn Viking himself who stood on at the podium during the siege of the Capitol building.
Okay.
And this is coming from Vice News, so keep that in mind. The headline is "The QAnon Shaman Just Flipped on Trump."
Oh, no.
Jake Angeli, who prefers to be known as the QAnon Shaman, was one of the most visible rioters at the Capitol Hill earlier this month, shirtless, carrying a spear, and wearing a Viking headdress complete with horns, face paint, and a fur coat as he roared throughout the Senate chamber. He
roared through. Some great writing.
I love the way that they describe this guy, and
like an animal.
My favorite video of him is when he's actually strolling. He's just very calmly strolling into the Senate chamber with a policeman following him. And the policeman's like,
all around.
Yeah, there's a couple of cameramen. And he's just kind of strolling in and he's just like, "Hey, what's up, guys? Wow, it's kind of cool in here. Oh, look at this guy. You okay?" He points to like some guy who's bleeding on the floor. He's like, "Yeah, I'm okay." "Oh, wow. Nice one. Okay. Wow. This is crazy." You know, it's just very calm. Not the bloodthirsty Viking that he's made out to be. But now Angeli wants to testify against the former president he was once horribly smitten with, in quotes. His lawyer told the AP. Angeli, whose real name is Jacob Chansley. Wow, there's so many layers to this guy's name. He's Q Shaman. I guess Jake Angeli wasn't his real name. His real name is Jacob Chansley, was indicted earlier this month on 6 counts, including violent entry, disorderly conduct in the Capitol building, and obstructing an official proceeding. He's scheduled to be arraigned Friday afternoon in Washington, D.C. In a memorandum earlier this month arguing to keep Angeli detained pending his trial, prosecutors also alleged that he wrote a threatening note to former Vice President Mike Pence and left it on the dais, telling him, quote, "It's only a matter of time. Justice is coming." Parenthetical prosecutors also said that Angeli demonstrates scattered and fanciful thoughts and is unable to appreciate reality. Wow.
Wow. Okay, Vice.
Wow. Demonstrates scattered and fanciful thoughts and is unable to appreciate reality. That sounds like most people.
Yeah.
Angeli told Vice News earlier this month that he was, quote, not worried at all about the pending investigation into him. Quote, I'm quite proud of my participation, Angeli said at the time. Quote, I'd like to think I was an observer of history being made right in front of me. Since then, however, Angeli has changed his tune. Quote, he felt like he was betrayed by the president, Angeli's attorney, Al Watkins, who has also represented the St. Louis gun couple, told the AP. Watkins said in a statement to the St. Louis Post-Dispatch that his client wants to talk about, quote, whether the words of former President Trump were understood by Mr. Chansley to be nothing short of an invitation to go to the Capitol with the president to, quote, fight like hell. Quote, if the pending article of impeachment has merit, the voice of Mr. Chansley and the voice of others in like position must be heard and believed, Watkins told the Post-Dispatch. Watkins told the AP that he hadn't spoken to anyone in the Senate about his plan, and it's unclear as of yet whether or not any witnesses will be called in Trump's second impeachment trial. During Trump's first impeachment trial last year, the Republican Senate majority blocked witness testimony to the consternation of Democrats. But Democrats now have a razor-thin majority, and some have said they don't need witnesses this time around. Quote, all of this was in plain view, what the president said, what he's done, Michigan Senator Debbie Stabenow told CQ Roll Call last week. Quote, we are the witnesses in my book. Watkins did not immediately respond to a request for comment, nor did the office of Representative James Raskin, the House Democrat who will serve as the lead impeachment manager for Trump's trial. Let's see, just a little browse. Yep, I think that's the biggest thing there. So, this is interesting. We've got the QAnon shaman, he's talking about how he feels betrayed by Trump, and now he's looking to return the favor. Now, this is in regards to the impeachment trial in the Senate to try to convict Trump of his alleged involvement with the Capitol Hill incident. But I don't know. Don't we have a date on that? Isn't that supposed to happen the 9th?
I don't remember. I don't know.
I think the trial is supposed to happen on the 9th. I don't know. I have been following kind of what a few analysts are saying about this. Nobody's really confident that Trump will be convicted, but who knows? You've got that very slight majority on the Democrat side, so it may or may not happen, which would stop Trump's chances for running in 2024, which they are really trying to wing him, hamstring him in that case. But there you go. They kind of alluded to other of those who were arrested on January 6th, also flipping on Trump. Things are getting heated over there.
Yeah, the one thing that I don't think we reported on, but was being shared on social media and whatnot, is the fact that much of the storming of the Capitol, the riots and all that, started before Trump even made his speech.
Yeah, there's been timelines put together that kind of show that if something was going to happen, it was already in process by the time Trump made his speech.
Yeah, and plus the fact that Trump mentions peacefully assembling. He used the word peaceful.
We'll see. Yeah, I mean, as far as the facts of his speech and things like that, I'm sure it will be presented, the speech in whole, and they will be parsing it apart, trying to figure out exactly what he may or may not have insinuated. Of course, on the mainstream media, all you get are little tiny snippets of of the more troublesome parts that people are trying to pick out. But I don't know. We'll see. Hold on. Some people are saying that the impeachment trial is on March 4th. I thought that's when Shadow President Trump was going to arrest Biden.
Oh, is that still happening?
I don't know. Allegedly, that's the QAnon idea, but hold on. Let me do a quick search.
Yeah, I think the whole flipperoo here, this is a legal play on this guy, Jacob Chansley, to try to not get in as much trouble. And if if he wants to do that, he wants to do never mind, I hate Trump, whatever, the flip, whatever, for legal purposes. I don't think this is anything genuine going on here. This is
probably not. No, he's just
move.
trying to, you mean QAnon, the QAnon shaman?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's just trying to save his skin, which, it's probably what. Yeah, Trump's trial, this is USA Today. Trump's trial will begin in earnest the week of February 8th. So there you go, all you people who think it's March 4th. Okay, well, that's kind of all I had. There's some other stuff going on, but nothing that I want to talk about here.
When are we going to see the 100,000 sealed indictments? That's what I'm waiting for.
That's old news.
Oh, I think it's up to a million.
That's old QAnon news.
Okay. Yeah. All right. They should come up with, a new letter or something, a number.
There is. There we go. March 4th is the arrest of Biden. We hope, says Harpazo Man. Yeah.
There you go.
Yep. People still, we've got some very enthusiastic QAnon people who are trying to convince me. We'll see. I'll wait until March 4th. See if anything
And then we'll
happens.
wait till April 1st.
Yes. Well, we'll just wait until whenever Lynn Wood decides to stop moving the goalposts.
Is Lynn Wood still out there doing
yeah,
the thing?
He's still the guy. He's still out there putting stuff out.
Wow. I thought maybe he would go away at this point. What about the other guy? I forget his name. We did a whole thing on him. Simon Parks.
Oh, I don't know. I've been a little bit less. I just can't bother right now.
What about Pachiznik?
If anything had ever happened, if one single Q thing had happened, then I might be more interested in following whatever the next predictions have been. Of course, the diehard Q people are saying that it is all happening, and I'm not able to see it.
Yeah.
But
somebody in the chat, I didn't see who it was. Who did see? I was made to love said, "Do not condemn Q people. They exposed much of this stuff."
Yeah, we've never condemned Q people.
Kind of.
No, yeah. In fact, we're urging people to extend compassion to Q people.
Yeah, that was.
And before Q, I mean, if you're talking about what exposed much of this crap, what crap? I mean, people have been talking about child trafficking and all sorts of stuff connected to that for years before Q came around. I mean, everything. I mean, that's kind of the problem that we've had with Q is. Besides the stuff that, is sort of proprietary conspiracy theory of Q, it's all based on stuff that hardworking conspiracy theorists have been talking about for years.
Yeah.
I mean, even again, back to the USA Inc., the Corporation of America. That stuff, people were talking about that a decade ago.
Well, and plus if there is a silver lining, it is that a lot of people started to realize and question everything, which is good. But usually when that happens, and we talked about this years ago, I think the 2012, when nothing happened at 2012, we were talking about this. Let's see. Before I say that, though, Captain Titus Frost, Q just posted for the first time since December. All it said was looky eyes.
Yeah, the googly eyes.
The googly eyes. Oh,
maybe
you're Q.
I'm Q.
You're Q.
I'm Q.
We figured it out. No. What happens when people start realizing that, hey, maybe they've been lied to their entire lives, is that their worldview is shattered. Their worldview about politics, whatever, everything is shattered. And so in that moment, it's very important to have grounded people or grounded things around them because everything you thought you knew was a lie, right? And so it's very easy to get sucked into something. You got to hold on to something. You lose footing. And so you thought this was solid ground, but it's not. You're hanging up in the air. I'm just going to grab onto whatever I can. And that's where the PSYOP part of it is, where great example, great way to get everybody to jump on board, not just Trump, but whatever the Q thing, the whole QAnon movement and the hope, and because nothing else is going to save us and all this. So that's the part where, yes, it was good that it woke people up, but what was being pointed to as the solution, a political solution at that, was where the suspicions have to, for me anyway, like right away, I was like, hey, this is not what they're saying it is. Because I'll admit, for like the first couple weeks, I'm talking October, November 2017, when this really started to spin out. We did a whole
episode on Q.
Yeah, I was like, hey, maybe. But even then, we were like, maybe we'll see. But it's interesting. Yeah. Could there be an intel or whatever? But yeah,
well, that's just so people know. If you're new to the show, we've been doing podcasts since 2012, and yes, we had a moment. Well, first of all, I'll say with people just waking up in 2020, I understand where you are. Like when you first really start looking into things and you really see that nothing is what it seems and that so many lies and everything, it's very affecting. You put a lot into it. It's all you can think about. It colors your entire world.
It makes you mad that other people aren't paying attention to stuff.
Yes, you get very passionate. You get very, it's a very extreme moment. And trust us, we went through the same thing
through it, yep.
almost a decade ago. And so we have a lot of compassion for people who, just coming awake in 2020. We're very happy that people are questioning mainstream narratives, but we also understand that it can be very it's very engrossing. It kind of colors everything in your life for a while.
Yeah.
And so there is a phase of it, not to say that there's, again, not condemning anybody. I'm extending compassion.
Right.
I know what it's like. I was 100, excuse me.
Oh, they're trying to choke you.
Yeah. 100% sure that aliens were going to show up
that.
in the 2012 Olympics. 100% sure disclosure was coming, and that didn't happen. And it was it was a big moment. I felt then how Q people are feeling now, I think.
Well, one could argue, based on some of the opening ceremony stuff, that they did reveal themselves.
Yeah,
but it was just very covert. You can spin it if you want to, and that is another example of how the Q thing operates.
Airport artist, yes. Like real aliens, they ask. Yes. I was 100% sure it was going to happen.
Yeah, you were pointing at Illuminati game cards, everything.
There was a lot of evidence. Everything, all the dots were connecting that would be the moment of disclosure. And it was with the Quetzalcoatl, the 2012 end of the world Aztec Mayan calendar thing. And it was, it was all coming together. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's all coming together.
Yeah. And it was interesting to see how there were a lot of Christians who picked up on Q. A lot of it was a very toxic form of patriotism and faith, and it was almost like. And I'm going to talk about this in Age of Deceit 4, but it was literally the redoing. And we talked about the Bolshevik Revolution and how there was something similar there, but also in America in the 50s, and we've talked about this too. Truman saying that we're going to have a psychological operation on the religious Christians of America to militarize again and fight against communism, and to literally get them to go to war and stuff. So this is, it was a very similar psychological tactic.
Yeah.
But and the New Agers picked up on it too. They had it tailored to New Agers and truth-seeking folk, which is it was very well designed, if anything. But it goes to show that a couple things. First off, people don't read their Bibles. I was trying to find the ISO of that, but I can't find it. All I can find is a Satanist one. But there's nothing new under the sun, right? This kind of thing has been going on for a long time. PSYOPs have been the playthings of the ruling class for generations. And this kind of speaks into our next quick story here.
It's got to be biblical.
This is from express.co.uk. And the headline, Archaeology News, study debunks remains of Jesus' brother St. James after 1,500 years. Yeah, so I don't know what to make of it other than this report. I'm not saying that they're entirely accurate here, but let's see what they say. For more than 1,500 years, faithful Christians have flocked to the Santi Apostoli Church in Rome to see the bones of two of Jesus' apostles. Since the 6th century, the minor basilica has been said to house relics with the bones of St. Philip and St. James the Younger. After Emperor Constantine Constantine the Great declared Christianity the state religion of the Roman Empire in the 4th century, there has been a rapid uptick in the number of churches being built. Christian martyrs were promptly dug up from their graves and transferred to a newly built house of worship, or newly built houses of worship, plural. This process, known as translation, happened to the supposed remains of St. James and St. Philip's. It is unclear today who moved the remains, but their internment at Santi Apostoli has earned the church great renown in the Christian world. That is, until now. A team of archaeology and chemistry experts from Denmark, Holland, Italy, and England have concluded a radiocarbon analysis of the ancient remains. Unfortunately, the bones were found to be far too young to have come from the time of Jesus, and the researchers did not have much to work with, as the relics of the mere fragments, a tibia and foot attributed to St. Philip and a femur attributed to St. James. The bones were dated using the radiocarbon method, which determines an object's age by studying the decay of radioactive carbon-14 in the object. The femur was dated between 214 and 340 AD, meaning the thigh bone belonged to someone at least 160 years younger than St. James. Professor Carrer Lund Rasmussen from the University of Southern Denmark said, quote, "Though the relic is not that of St. James, it casts a rare flicker of light on a very early and largely unaccounted for time in the history of early Christianity. St. James the Younger was one of the 12 apostles who followed Jesus Christ according to the Christian Bible." And kind of goes on here. Alternatively, they may have been step siblings, blah, blah, blah. They go into some theories. But yeah, the scientific consensus is that the bones that have been touted as that of St. James, alas, is not that of St. James, or at least couldn't be because it's too young.
Surprise.
Yeah, surprise.
It's interesting that the Catholic Church would even let them do this.
Yeah, maybe the Catholic Church supporters will say, "Well, they didn't let the scientists look at the real bones. That would be sacrilege."
Sure. Yeah, it's interesting. I've, in my travels, I really have only seen this in Europe, where big cathedrals or different churches will have a relic, and oftentimes it's body parts of saints or apostles or something.
Isn't that a whole practice in some of the Orthodox churches where they save the skulls and stuff?
Yeah, we actually did a big episode on it in Canary Cry Radio. I forget who we were talking to. But yeah, it's really weird. One of them, what was it? There's the one with the blood. It's like a vial of blood.
Oh, right. The blood that recongeals or whatever.
Reliquidated.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I forget where I was going.
I think it was Chris Putnam that we talked to about that.
Yeah, I think so too. So anyways, I forget what my point was, but very interesting practice on the Catholic side there. But yeah, okay, surprise, surprise. Those were just somebody's bones.
And a lot of these types of stories is meant to be a sort of
science is truth.
Therefore, faith is wrong, or religion is wrong, God is wrong, that kind of thing.
Right.
And that's what it's going to be used for. But if you think of it, think about it objectively, not the bones of some person 1,500 years ago not being of someone they said it was doesn't change anything with the realities of the faith. Keeping that in mind, because I know some people can run with it and
take
it with they will.
I got a story here from GlobeNewsWire.com.
Artificial intelligence.
That's right. Skinopathy files provisional patent for artificial intelligence and augmented reality powered technology that will guide skin cancer surgeries. Skinopathy, a Canadian medical... Hey, Canada! a Canadian medical company founded in 2020, new company, has filed a provisional patent with the United States Patent and Trademark Office for artificial intelligence and augmented reality technology that will help guide surgeons when performing skin cancer excisions. Healthcare practitioners will be able to use the AI technology, which determines pixel by pixel the boundaries of cancerous skin tissue by simply taking a picture with their smartphone. The AR technology, it's the augmented reality technology, will then provide surgeons with an overlay of those boundaries through the screen. Cancerous skin tissue can sometimes extend beyond the measurable lesion and is typically unseen to even the most eagle-eyed surgeon. That is why some surgeons choose to be overly cautious and remove more skin than might be necessary to prevent the need for further surgery, which can lead to visible scarring and other disfigurements. Conversely, it is possible that cancerous tissue remains following an excision due to the vagaries of the human body, quality of life considerations, or experience of the surgeon. This can potentially lead to continued growth and additional excisions in the future, yada, yada, yada. So, long story short, the continued cyborgization of the healthcare industry is taking another step in the direction. This time, AI telling them how much skin to cut off of you.
Right. When we did our prediction at the beginning of the year, I think, or maybe it was the end of last year, the end of 2020, we didn't do a good job of coming up with predictions. We were like, wait a minute, they already have that in the news, or whatever. But one of the things that I think is going to take place in the next year or two, I'm not going to specifically say 2021, but for sure in the next couple years, I think they're going to start announcing cancer cures for certain types of cancer. At least in theory, or like lab work done, maybe like not
genetic
exactly
stuff.
Yeah, like CRISPR or Talon type of stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe not for every type of cancer, but I think with certain types, they're going to start basically announcing we have solutions or cures, which I know a lot of people have said that there's cures, or there have been cures for a long time. And I think that it's true to some degree that, medicine doesn't necessarily go through all of the potential ways to save people or help people that suffer from cancer. Not that the alternative options are always going to work or anything like that, but just in general, it is my opinion, just an educated guess. This is not like a prophecy or something. Just an educated guess that in the next couple of years, they are going to start announcing a theoretical solution to cancer.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Also, I want to push back against the people who had a problem with our predictions. Because, we're not trying to be prophets or psychics and predict things that have no basis in any evidence. Our predictions were based on evidence and obsessive participation in keeping track of all the things we keep track of. Our predictions were not supposed to be some sort of God-given prophecy. It's our conglomeration of all of our contact with the current technology and at the rate with which it will hit certain milestones. And so I stand by our predictions, Gons. Don't let anybody get you down.
Well, Baba Vanga, the blind prophetess.
Okay.
Do you know about her?
No.
We've talked about Baba Vanga.
She's a blind. About a lot of people.
She's a blind mystic. And Baba Vanga, you know what she said about the year 2021?
What?
A strong dragon will seize humanity. That was her prediction for 2021.
Huh.
So maybe someone was. She's a Bulgarian mystic. She died in 1996 at the age of 85. But her 2021 prediction, a dragon will seize humanity. We'll see. That's what people want. People want,
Yes, they want the Nostradamus, cryptic, no evidence possible.
Maybe we'll
guesses.
do that for fun next year. I mean, it's not too late. We're only in February here, first couple days, but I'm not going to write a haiku for 2021.
Yeah, I was going to say. All right. You got something to take us out on?
Yes. This is I can call this a psyop.
Psyops.
This is from SanFranciscoGate.com. A story, or the story behind Blue Checkmark Homes. How a San Francisco artist created a fake company that fooled thousands.
Ooh.
Yeah. On Friday, a viral Twitter thread announced the unexpected rollout of Blue Check Homes, a new service allowing Bay Area residents to apply to have a verified badge crest installed on the facade of their home to essentially identify themselves as an authentic public figure in real life.
What?
In a matter of hours, the thread garnered international attention, swiftly amassing thousands of retweets and likes and over 40 million impressions. The reactions from the public were wide-ranging. Some were, understandably, annoyed by the concept. Others caught on to the joke rather quickly. But Danielle Baskin, a San Francisco-based artist behind the prank, had no idea the website she crafted to back up the fake service would receive 495 applicants, all hoping for a crest of their own.
Oh my gosh.
Quote,
this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Quote, I will say a percentage of them are not from real person, not from a real person. People added like Kim Kardashian, and that was clearly a joke, said Baskin, who in 2019 attempted to remove a series of controversial anti-homeless boulders from a city sidewalk by listing them on the Craigslist free section. Quote, but everyone else thought the website was real. I did what I thought was a mediocre Photoshop job. I thought this is all very clickbaity. All of the copy I thought was so obviously satire. The idea stemmed from a simple question. Where did the plaster shields adorning some of San Francisco's Victorian homes come from? Recently, when Baskin was out on a walk through her neighborhood, she noticed several houses had them, but she was intrigued by one design in particular, a blue shield with a diagonal purple stripe slashed through it. Was it decorative, or did it indicate some sort of historical significance about the house and the family that once lived there? She decided to consult the internet for answers. Quote, I learned that in heraldry, this particular symbol is called a bend sinister and used to mean that there was an illegitimate child born there, said Baskin.
Whoa.
I don't believe people living in San Francisco many years ago would have actually marked their homes with this, but it was more of a decorative thing, a way for wealthy people to dignify their homes. And shows a picture of the actual thing there. She shared her findings on Twitter and was struck by a response from one of her followers. Quote, this was the blue check mark before Twitter, he joked. A light bulb went off in Baskin's mind. She thought it was ridiculous and hilarious. What if modern day homes actually carried on this tradition? The artist, who is also the co-creator of voice chat app Dial-Up, said she had the website for Blue Check Homes up within 2 hours of the initial idea. At the top of the landing page, yada, 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 the website, with a $3,000 fee in order to have one of the coveted crests installed on their homes. Scrolling down the page, the qualification to obtain one of these crests seemed to grow increasingly absurd. You must be a homeowner who is also a thought leader, for instance, or identify yourself as an athlete or member of a professional esport league who has been featured in gaming publications like Kotaku, Polygon, or IGN. Are you a famous actor desiring to own one of these crests? Well, unless you have at least 5 production credits on your IMDb profile, too bad. And then it kind of goes on. And then it says, shortly after, hold on. Baskin said she pored over old newspaper articles, blah, blah, blah. I think it goes on forever, man. This story is much longer.
Yeah, this is the whole thing. I mean, the concept is hilarious.
I think, it speaks to, number one, in our world today, you have to say if something is satire. You like, even when you do, people still believe that it's real, so you have to literally tell people that this is a joke. Otherwise, people are going to believe it.
Remember back in the days where we would have to you'd kind of need to go pretty deep in a website to find where they hid the fact that it was satire.
Yes.
They put it on there kind of legally. They legally had to put satire on there. So they would hide it in the About Me section.
Right.
Sometimes they would make it the font, the same color as the background. So it was technically there, but you had to highlight it to figure it out. I have not seen something like that recently. And I don't know whether to be afraid that, maybe more news outlets are satire and we're just not paying attention, or maybe the satire thing has sort of worn out and it's too dangerous to even try to make satire now. Because people will just believe whatever you print.
Yeah. Other than the funny part about this story is this is the kind of thing that is going to inform lawmakers and people that are planning to build what they consider guardrails for the internet. You know, when you go bowling, and if you're like a young bowler, they got the little side rails so your ball doesn't fall in. Yeah, the bumpers. That's what they want for people on the internet, so you don't go out of bounds.
Yeah.
That I just feel like this type of story, although it's hilarious, is moving us in that direction where everything has to be in the guidelines or you're going to lose your ability to be on the internet.
Because we can't take care of ourselves, guys.
You're not smart enough to know.
As regular people, we can't be responsible for our own actions.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
It's a good idea to get, go viral. We should do something like that. Just something to go viral. I don't know. It doesn't have to be a blue check mark.
We're very serious journalists, guys.
I know. That's why we should do it.
That was satire, in case anybody was going to take me seriously.
It's all blending into one thing.
Well, sounds good. We got to get you out of here. Your baby's coming home soon.
Yep. Gotta go.
Okay. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. We will be back on Friday, February 5th. Again, we're shooting for as close to 9:30 as we can. We did a little bit better today, but incrementally, we'll be getting to our starting target time of 9:30 in the morning. So make sure to put it on your calendar. If you haven't done it yet, hit the like button on this video. Please, por favor. Helps.
Subscribe, bell button, all. Like, subscribe, bell button, all.
That's right. We'll be harnessing the power of the algorithms to share the show out with people who may not have heard it before. So you can always take it back, but please give us your like and make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, or else you might miss the show on Friday the 5th, somewhere around 9:30 Pacific Standard Time. That's 9:30 in the morning. I know. It's crazy. But thank you very much. And also, big old thank you very much to all of our producers for this show, episode 295. And that's producer Kevin, Sheshwan, Saul, Eric, Jason, and Sir Jason, Knight of the Anti-Foo Bar. Thank you to all of our artists, and of course, Jade Bouncerson for the timestamps. Here's the thing, folks. You too can become a producer of the show for all the great reasons that I mentioned earlier. This is going to be a more common thing. And here's the thing. Even Washington Post is asking for donations now. So the mainstream is the mainstream is realizing that this value for value model is kind of the only way to go. And so you're going to have to support somebody. And I guess it's your choice. You can support the Washington Post, or you can support your buddies Basil and Gons at Canary Cry News Talk. And there you go. It's a nice rebellion against the institutions of this world that just love nice little sleepy somnosumers. So there you go. You can either wake up or let things be the way they've always been. So thank you very much to all of our producers. And if you want to become a producer, the best place to do that is by heading over to canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
That's right. Thank you very much for that. There's also patreon.com/CCNT. Now, there's other ways you can support the show. You can create music, create jingles, create art. All of those things, if they are properly done on a subject matter related to the show, send them over to canarycryradio@gmail.com. Or if you like your privacy, you can do Canary canarycryradio@protonmail.com. So thank you very much for that. And you can also support the show by leaving ratings and reviews. It's very important. I'll be checking out some ratings and reviews on the show on Friday. And if you want your rating and review read on the show, go ahead and leave a rating and a review. It's that simple. Best place to do that is at Apple Podcasts. Just search Canary Cry Newstalk and leave a review. Thank you very much. Now, you also can share the show on social media. That's very important. That's the best way. You know, that's the most, what's the word I'm looking for? It's the most effective. That's where most of the listeners come from, is word of mouth and people sharing it with them, their friends, their family. And you got those who are starting to wake up to the fact that the world is not what it seems, and share the show with them. Send them this episode or another episode you liked, and we'd be happy to be a part of that waking up journey of theirs. And if you need any other instructions, here's what you do. You walk right up to them, you grab them by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. Gons, any last words?
Thank you guys for watching, listening, being there for us. Thank you to all the producers, and we appreciate you.
That's right. Yes, we do. And one more time, folks, thanks for listening. Make sure to tune in on February 5th. Sometime around 9:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. But until you do, think outside the cage.
Everybody loves waffles. It will kill. Demonic power! You can't handle the truth!
There is no beginning, there is no end. It is a circle.
We will launch a new age!
Better, bigger, tastier.
This is the way.
Canaries in a cage.
Now is the time to do what you're told.
Everybody loves waffles.
Reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
I want to shake things up, shake things up. I want to shake things up, shake things up. Leave the bird alone. I want to stir up some controversy. I want to rattle a few cages. I want to rattle a few cages. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. A crusader for the little guy. Little guy. Little guy. Well, we'll see about that.
Whatever, Illuminati.
As they expose Babylon, there's a line drawn in the sand.
a huge blunt,
a joint.
Give everybody
magic
mushrooms. Smoke. The CIA, I mean, lots of intelligence agencies have tested secretly dosing communities. LSD.
Psychoactive pills should be covertly administered. Just put me on some, I don't know.
Give you a shot in the butt. Fluoride.
Oxytocin.
Get a chemical hug.
I did dabble, some of that robot crack. I know what it's like.
It's a lethal recipe for disaster. You need help.
If you're a pharmacist, you need to repent.
All right, weird.
Poly. It's Latin for many. Tick. Now suck your blood. Politic. Many that suckers. Politician. Politicians are politics. Don't let them drain you all away. Poly. It's Latin for many. Tick. Now suck your blood. Politic. Many blood suckers. Politician. Politicians are politics. Don't let them drain you all the way. Don't let them drain you all the way. Don't let them drain you all the way.
Left wing, right wing, 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 left wing, right wing.
Two wings, same bird. Two wings, same bird. Two wings, same bird. Two wings, same bird. Same bird.
Poly.
It's Latin for many.
Tick.
Now suck your blood.
Politic.
Many blood suckers.
Politician. Politicians are politics.
Don't let them drain you all the way. 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 Don't let them drain you all the way.
Don't even get me started on bidets, man. Bidets, man. Bidets, man. I'm telling you, you were living the life, man. Bidets, man.
Robot girls of our boys, all together it's an image. Robot girls of our boys, all together it's an image. Robot girls of our boys, all together it's an image. Robot girls of our boys, all together it's an image. It might seem scary, so frightening. Get ready for it. Don't push
me started.
Fun fact, I believe it was another fun fact. Fun fact. Another fun fact.
Brings me back to my Screamo days.
There's nothing to watch on my color TV. None of this news is what I want to see. I try tuning in to my radio. None of this talk is really quite the show for me. For me. Finding good news is really quite the pain. Gotta find something I ain't got all day. Get on my YouTube, debates like the sun. See what's new, demonetization. Know what's this? To my surprise, I spot a big pair of googly eyes. Click on the video and turn up the sound. What is this gem that I have found? Canary. Cry radio, canary. Cry, news talk, canary. Radio, canary. Cry, news talk.
In the future, humans will be confined in a people's zoo.
I'll keep you safe and warm in my people's zoo. I'll keep you safe and warm now in my people's zoo. You, yeah, you in my people's zoo. I'll keep the cameras on.
It's a circle.
People's Zoo.
You can't handle the truth.